In the cold and unforgiving cityscape of London, Gabriel Stone, a private investigator hardened by both the city streets and the unseen dark corners of the paranormal, sat quietly in a seedy pub tucked away in a narrow alley. It was a sanctuary for the downtrodden, forgotten by the world and drenched in shadows. Here, Stone knew, lay a trail that could lead him to an entity as insidious as it was clever. In the treacherous game of cat and mouse that he played with the supernatural, the trail of the Miller was the dodgiest he had ever followed. Named for their talent to feed the gossip mills, the Miller was a species of enchanter. They whispered impossible rumors and twisted the fates of their victims until the absurd became their reality. It was a diabolical prowess, one Stone begrudgingly admired. Social media, the 21st century's weapon of mass deception, was the Miller's playground, amplifying the rumors into a deafening roar of fake news. Stone had seen the chaos unfold as these fabrications became someone else's all-too-real nightmare. He'd noticed a pattern, a perverse thread linking the victims, which he had chased down the city's dark alleys, in and out of dodgy pubs, always under a cloak of secrecy. Even as he ventured further into this dangerous investigation, he knew he couldn't afford to become a part of the twisted narrative. Once your name found its way to the Miller's whispers, there was no evading the inevitable. But Stone wasn't one to shy away from danger. His audacity had been forged in the fires of countless encounters with the dark arts, making him a formidable adversary to the enchanter. At the heart of his strategy was the way he communicated, brief, cryptic words, carefully designed to offer little about his intentions. He was a silent shadow amongst the rabble, listening, observing, never revealing more than a sliver of his true intentions. "Terrible about that schoolteacher, innit?" he said to the barkeep, casting his line into the murky waters of bar gossip. "Yeah, grim. Got no idea what came over him," the barkeep replied. While his external dialogue was a model of restraint, his inner thoughts were a different story. Direct, candid statements of what he saw and how he interpreted it, a constant narrative that fueled his understanding of the world around him. "This schoolteacher is just another victim. I need to find the link to the Miller." With every interaction, every piece of news he gathered, he felt closer to the Miller, his every instinct screaming that he was on the right track. But with every step, the waters seemed to get murkier, his path uncertain. Could he trust his instincts? Or was he being led into a trap? The suspicion that had served him so well was casting shadows on his confidence. His relentless pursuit led him to the Grindhouse, a notorious internet cafe known as the epicenter of online rumors and scandals. He suspected this was where the Millers spun their webs of deceit. Walking into the cafe, the soft hum of computers and the click-clack of keyboards filled his ears. He had to be careful. One wrong step and he might trigger a rumor about himself. "Any interesting news?" Stone asked the girl behind the counter, his voice as casual as the weather. "Always," she replied with a smirk. He spent hours in the cafe, watching, listening. The conversations around him were a mix of harmless chatter and scandalous gossip. Yet, he couldn't shake off the feeling of an unseen menace, the undercurrent of the Miller's invisible handiwork. As he sifted through the details, he started to form a chilling picture. The schoolteacher was the tip of an iceberg in an unforgiving sea of icebergs, a piece of a horrifying puzzle that was the Miller's handiwork. A sinister thought pierced his confidence. He was piecing together the fragments, but what if they were purposefully laid out for him? Was he unearthing a trail or walking along a cleverly mapped path? The shadow of doubt began to creep into his mind. Was he merely a pawn in the Miller's malicious game? Was he about to be ensnared in a rumor of his own making? Returning to his office, Stone pondered his findings. He was too close to back out now. The dodgy lead hadn't deterred him, rather, it had solidified his resolve. He'd seen the damage the miller caused, and he was more determined than ever to bring this demon to justice. The phone rang, disrupting his thoughts. An anonymous tip about a high-profile businessman's sudden downfall. Another victim of the miller, it seemed. As Stone listened, the anonymous voice echoed the chilling patterns he'd uncovered. His heart pounded with the weight of his reality. He was dealing with an enemy that could turn his worst fears into reality. The next day brought another call, then another. The tempo of the miller's game had intensified, and the signature was theirs, but the pattern was no more evident to Stone than when he first began this chase. Moreover, Stone was all too aware he had not been as discreet about his intentions as he had hoped. Under any other circumstance, tracking any other mark, he would have been grateful for the litany of leads he was receiving. But not now, not when it came to the sheer damning power of words when wielded by the miller. As the days blurred into a tapestry of accusations, confessions, and manipulations, Stone felt the specter of the miller grow larger. With every rumor that blossomed into a dreadful reality, he sensed a taunting presence, an unseen foe watching his every move. He was close, he could feel it, yet the miller seemed always a whisper away, an insidious shadow just out of reach. Navigating through the storm of rumors, piecing together the whispers, Stone stayed the course. He questioned his leads and followed the threads, all the while keeping his pursuit hidden from prying eyes. His instincts, the voice that had guided him through the city's darkest corners, were now a mix of certainty and doubt. Am I close? Or am I walking into Miller's labyrinth? In a moment of weakness, he pulled a coin from his pocket, ready to offer the fate of his next direction up to the whims of Tai Chi, when the tinny clink of his letterbox cracked the silence of his darkened flat. He bent to retrieve the yellow parcel, and, in that moment, instead of an off-chance call for heads or tails, it all came down to a crumpled envelope delivered to his office, and a single piece of worn parchment folded neatly inside. The elegant but erratic handwriting indicated urgency, lending an even more ominous air to the message it held. Midnight tolls where spirits gather. Seek the whisper in the static. The rumor's birthplace hides in plain sight. Undoubtedly, it was cryptic, but to Stone, it was more. He had spent countless nights hunting whispers of the supernatural, deciphering riddles that were far more obscure than this. His heart pounded with a glimmer of hope. The spirit's gathering place. Could it be the internet cafe? The whisper in the static. An online broadcast, perhaps? And the rumor's birthplace hiding in plain sight. Could it be that the miller had been weaving his rumors right under everyone's nose, within the grindhouse itself? As he unraveled its meaning, he felt the cold chill of realization. He'd found the link he was searching for, the common thread that led him straight to the miller's doorstep. Or so it seemed. The faint glimmer of hope surged into a beacon, as Stone knew he'd just caught a break. As puzzling as it was, this clue might just be the lead he needed to corner the miller. Or, as the inherent risk of his investigation dictated, it could be yet another lure into an intricate trap. The clue felt real, but he couldn't shake off the nagging question: was this truly the break he'd been waiting for, or was it another manipulation by the miller? The line of his jaw tightened with replenished determination. Reaching for his hat as he slid his keys into his coat pocket, he decided that was a chance he was destined to take.